The Charter Podcast, Episode 8. Syrian Academics and Academia. Interactions through Cara. With Dr. Dina Belluigi of Queen's University Belfast and Dr. Fateh Shaban of the Academic Centre for Development and Peace Studies in Turkey.
First of all, thank you for inviting me to this session. My name is Fateh Shaban. I'm from Syria, as you know. I got my PhD in Egypt in 2013. But because of the war, in Syria, I couldn't get back to my original university, the University of Aleppo. So I decided to come with my family to Turkey to live here. I stayed here for about 2 years away from the academic environment without any academic post. And this increased my frustration and discouragement until 2017 when I started communicating with the Cara Syria program, which I'm going to explain more about. Since 2017, I have been working on many academic research about, particularly on higher education in Syria. Last year, we as Syrian academics, we found that we need something to represent us as Syrian academics, to communicate with the international academic, not individually, but we found that we needed an institution to represent us. So, I and some other Syrian academics decided to establish the Academic Center for Development and Peace Studies, ACDP, here in Turkey, in Gaziantep. Actually, this center is independent, non-for-profit, and it seeks to involve academics and researchers and harness Syrian expertise, whatever it exists, to contribute to rebuilding the Syrian state and society, and promoting civilian peace building also on scientific and practical basis. This center actually aims to achieving many goals, of which, for example, to study the challenges facing Syrian society, both in Syria and in exile, and to propose creative solutions, and to contribute to the establishment and development of national institutions capable of providing society with the necessary knowledge and expertise. One of the most important goals is to provide a platform for Syrian academics and researchers from various disciplines to exchange views and experiences, because one of most challenges that we face here is the lack of affiliation for Syrian academics, and we aim that this center would provide affiliation for Syrian academics. Actually, since 2017, I have conducted many research, either on higher education or on my specialism, which is geography, and that was mainly because of the great job that Cara have done for us. I met with Dina through Cara in Istanbul in 2019 in a workshop which was held by Cara. Since that time, we have been working on several research blogs, and we have many activities. Now we are writing a chapter book, also mainly on higher education.
Thank you very much. That's very good. Perhaps I'll turn to Dina to talk a little bit about the work that you've been doing. You met in 2019, as I understand it, and you've in Turkey, and you've already begun. You've got a blog post. You've got a paper. Is that right? Or yeah, and then there's a chapter of the book. Maybe tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Thanks, Morris. Yeah. So also just to introduce myself. I'm an academic in higher education studies here at Queen's, and so Fateh and I are really counterparts, researching a similar area of inquiry, really, but because of the nature of Syrian higher education and what's happened over a long period of conflict, it's brought us together. So yes, we met in 2019 at a roundtable that was facilitated with the University of Kent and Cara through a project that Fateh and myself as collaborators and Tom Parkinson and a number of other academics proposed to do, which was around the question of what is academic development in conflict. I had previously worked in academic development and conducted research in academic development in South Africa, which uses quite different models to that which is prevalent in Western-oriented universities. And we met during that time period. There were a number of Syrian academics there. There were also academics from occupied territories, such as Palestine, a university in exile in Belarus, as well as those from contexts such as myself in South Africa and here in Northern Ireland, post-conflict contexts from Kosovo and Serbia. And the point of such period of time of bringing together academics to ask questions about how do you continue your academic practice? How does one make sure that academic freedom to practice as an academic is actually being protected and it's not just an ideal? That is what we did. We spent 3 days of a roundtable speaking from our experiences, talking about the problematics really of such support. And then from that, we've developed, I guess, a relationship in pursuing our scholarship. So yes, we've written a paper together about that roundtable. We've also written a blog post, and the blog post has actually, in a way, served as quite a nice catalyst, because in the blog post we said that particularly critical university studies, which is an area of study of the university, is not paying sufficient attention to the question of what happens when academic freedom, when institutional autonomy, all these virtues that we're meant to hold dear and almost take for granted, what happens when that falls apart? And are scholars paying enough attention when they're not comfortable within their own institutions?
And I guess, Fateh, for you, that's not just a theoretical or academic question. You've obviously faced those barriers in real life. Is that something that Cara has been able to help you with in terms of overcoming those barriers?
Yes, actually, I say that Cara has opened doors for me to build networks and to conduct research. Cara Syria program includes 6 strands. I get benefits from all these strands. For example, Cara helped me to improve my English language, which was one, you can say it is the main barriers for most of Syrian academics to communicate with other academics around the world. So Cara, through its program, improved my English language. Cara has secured a teacher from Edinburgh University, who is Dr. Kathy Benson, to teach me English. We have made more than, I think, 150 sessions, and we are still in communicating. We have weekly lessons or sessions, and also Cara developed or built or rebuilt my academic skills through workshops, either face-to-face before the corona pandemic, and or virtual nowadays. Also, Cara facilitated a visit for me to the University of Sussex, incubation research visit for 5 weeks. I get benefits. Really, it was very useful for me to visit the UK. It wasn't just academic, also communicating with the academics there. It is something like, you can say, impossible for Syrian to get visas and to spend money to travel outside to participate or to get visits in rich universities. But Cara could facilitate that visit. Also, Cara involved me in many academic project, research project. Now we have submitted for 2 projects. I have been involved in 3 other projects. Also, many other studies, like we participated with the University of Cambridge. We produced 2 reports about higher education in Syria post and pre 2011, and then Cara supported me to produce another report about higher education in northern Syria. Moreover, Cara gave me a research grant to conduct 2 research, one on the higher education and the other on the damage to the road networks in Syria, which is mainly my specialism. Actually, there are many other profits that I get from Cara Syria program, and we are still working on some other project and research here. The main thing that I can say here that I haven't found any other international program that supports Syrian academics in exile. Just Cara Syria program. The Cara Syria program has supported us directly, either through workshops, through building networks, which is, I believe, the most important thing that I get from Cara Syria program. I have many other, I have relationships and networks with academics from around the world, especially in the UK. And now we are preparing to conduct other studies or research, and we hope that we can start a project on supporting universities in northern Syria in the near future.
I see, Dina, you're nodding along there. I guess you agree with Fateh's assessment of the importance of the Syrian program in the Cairo program, I should say. Do you want to expand on that?
Yeah, so I mean, Cara has a long history, and I mean, people can look that up, extending from World War II, and it's gone through various permeations. People may know of it most because of the channels that it creates for fellows to come individually and be hosted by institutions. But actually, the Syrian program built on the strength of a number of other programs, including one in Zimbabwe and one elsewhere in the Middle East, where instead of taking individuals, there is an approach of working with large groups of academics in exile. And I think there are around 300 that are signed up to the Syrian program. All the academics who, from the UK who contribute do so voluntarily. And as Fateh said, there's I'm on the steering committee for the program, and there's a number of different streams. Those streams come out of areas that are identified by the Syrian academics themselves. And in that way, that's quite unique. So sometimes there's aspects around teaching and learning. Sometimes there's aspects around research development. Sometimes it's around language. So there are various permeations, and I think it will continue to change with time. What has been really important is that the establishment of the ACDP by Syrian academics really signals a big shift change. wider than just Syria. The issue of conflict allows for NGOs, academics, benevolent or not, to profit from conflict. And they often don't center local knowledge. So the local knowledge of academics is so important, but yet often those academics are not put in a position to lead that research. And I think Cara's done a really good job of trying to make sure that those who have the most knowledge are leading those projects.
So, Fateh, just to, I suppose, move towards a conclusion, you're talking about developing the project in northern Syria. What are your plans for that? How do you see the future for that venture? Yeah.
Yes, actually, the situation in Syria is, especially in northern Syria, is very difficult because people there feel like they have been neglected or isolated. They can't travel, they can't communicate with the international community. There is obstacles from the international community also to communicate with them. When I was in the UK, I found that British there, the academic environment in general doesn't know about what was going on in Syria. So they said, we don't know about Syria. We can't go there. We don't have a partner there to work with us. So that was another idea which encouraged us to establish ICDB. For the Syrian academics and the universities in northern Syria and non-regime areas, they have been neglected. There is no international program to support academic there. Because there is many other obstacles related to the USA sanctions, the lack of access to the area, and many other things. So we decided with Cara program and to Turkish universities to build a program to support academics in northern Syria by help them to improve their skills and to build capacity. They need a lot to improve their skills and to be communicated with the international community. So we have submitted a project to Spencer Foundation from USA, and we are waiting for a response from them. Such a program, I believe, is very important for not just Syrian academics in northern Syria, but also for the local community, because it has been 10 years of conflict and people are away from anything around the world. If we could give them or put them in communication with the international community, that would be very, very useful for them to exchange knowledge with people around the world. And I believe that those people need a lot of support, need to be communicate with the international community, and students actually needs, for example, last year, Cardiff University started something, Sheffield University. They would like to support students by online teaching and to improve their English language. But unfortunately, the COVID-19 pandemic stopped this initiative. We are trying now to help those people. The ICDB is also one of the objectives and goals of the ICDB is to facilitate networking between those universities and the international community. One of these, what we could achieve, but unfortunately it hasn't been started yet, is a project with the University of Kent. It is related to conflict intersections. We bid the project to facilitate communication between a research center and at Free Alibo University and ACDB with Kent University. Unfortunately, we got approval, but unfortunately, the funder from UK, AHR or GCRF, something like this, decided to postpone the budget because of something happened in the UK. We hope that they will accept it as soon as possible, because we are really needed. We really needed to support academics inside Syria.
The project that Fateh is talking about is a project that has a number of us as collaborators. Tom Parkinson from Kent University is the PI, myself, Fateh, Dr. Abdulatif, and some other collaborators within Turkish universities have put together the Living Systems project, and that was we were notified that was successful. It's a fascinating project that's going to look at knowledge exchange and communication between southern Turkey and northern Syria. Northern Syria, may know, Morris, is in a strange position at the moment in terms of international law, because it's a freed area, but because of the arrangement and understandings around sovereignty of nation states, it means that it has very little power to regulate its practices. So institutions there cannot give certified qualifications, they cannot make certain claims or associations because of this current state of suspension that northern Syria is in. So we'll be looking at some of the ways in which academics have used their agency and patterns of movement across those universities to continue to fulfill their obligation to academic knowledge and growth, despite the fact that institutional autonomy is not protected within those spaces. So it was fantastic to get awarded. This is certainly not the first application that myself or Fateh have made, or our collaborators. We've made a number, of course, always highly rated, and the amount of awards is very low in the UK. But we were told that we were successful mid-year. Unfortunately, because of the reduction in the amount of money that the UK government is giving to ODA assistance, which is absolutely imperative for research of this nature, because of those decisions, the award, decisions about the award, our plans have been constantly deferred, and still we're in a state of deferral now. Of course, that decision by the government has had implications for the charity sector, terrible implications. But I think it's really important for people listening to this to have an understanding of what it does to those academics who are dependent, those projects that are dependent on such funding. Academics at risk, many and in exile, many are not employed. The vast majority are not employed within institutions. And so their academic practice, such as Dr. Shaban right here, is completely suspended when that funding happens. So this is not a small issue. It's a large issue, and actually sort of we have to ask questions about the implications of funding that is supposedly and advertised as available, that then shifts when decisions are made after those funds are advertised.
So
can I add something, please?
Yes, please.
As Dina said, actually for myself, I built dreams on this project. I was waiting it because it is very difficult for us here. The life is just to earn living is very difficult for us as Syrians, and that project would be something to not just to support me financially, but also to help me to help us, me and Shahir Abdulatif, to build our center and to support Syrian academics. Unfortunately, we haven't got it yet.
Not yet. Let's hope that eventually all the pieces fall into place and the funding comes through. certainly in the meantime, that sounds as though there are obstacles, plenty of obstacles, but there's lots of really great work going on, which seems to me, at any rate, both to be enriching the lives of the Syrian academics involved, but also allowing us to share in their expertise.
Also, one thing, if you allow me to add, I visited the UK before in 19, sorry. I hope that one day I would be hosted also by universities, Queen Belfast University. For me, I have got many opportunity to travel. I have been to Europe and UK many times. I don't like to stay there as a permanent, as refugee or asylum seeker. Most of us would like to go back to their country. One day we believe that one day we will be able to get back to our country, but also we have to improve our skills and to save, let me say, the intellectual capital of Syrians to be able in the future to participate in rebuilding their country. And this is what I believe for myself. So I hope that I could visit a well-known university to learn and to improve my skills. I believe that would be very important for our country in the future.
That's certainly something to look forward to. Dina, sorry, did you want to say something?
No, that's very much one of the intentions within this project is for Fateh and Shahir to come and learn from the Mitchell Institute, which has learned a considerable amount about conflict, peace, security, and to really share in that mutual benefit where we also learn from so much of what is happening in Syrian higher education and the agency of academics such as Fateh and Shahir to manage despite the circumstances in fulfilling their obligations.
Very good. Well, let's hope we'll be able to meet up, not just so much on screen, but in person at some point in the near future. Dr. Fateh Shaban and Dr. Dina Belluigi, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Since we recorded our interview with Fateh, there's been some developments. Maybe you could tell us what those are.
Yeah, so unfortunately, we were given devastating news just yesterday. So we spoke about this a bit in the recording about how last year we were told that our application to establish a global partnership was successful. And this was by no means the first application that we've put in. You would know, Morris, how tiny the success rate is for applications to these funds, that the need is massive to research and come to an understanding of global challenges, but the pot is actually quite tiny. So at the time last year, the AHRC told us we were successful and asked for information about how we were going to adapt to deal with COVID and the restrictions. But then after that, we had a period of sort of radio silence. Then from responses to our emails, we began to realize that the reduction in the UK's government commitments to official development assistance, basically their overseas aid budget for those in the global south, was going to affect the calls made and those notified as successful prior to the government's announcements of those reductions. We've been waiting for months. The project commencement date was delayed, and then yesterday on the 16th of March, we were notified that the successfully selected project won't be funded. So ours is not the only project, but regardless, the impact is devastating, particularly for our Syrian co-Is. For years now, we in the UK have engaged with those academics, sometimes in unfunded projects, sometimes with small pots of money secured by the Council of At-Risk Academics. And you must remember that most of these academics, the vast majority, do not have salaried employment, nor institutions housing them. So there was a hope. I'm thinking perhaps now maybe a myth that all these small projects would eventually lead to something more sustainable and also to more equitable relations, which is part of the impetus of the Global Challenge Research Fund. But I'm really concerned, and I think it's legitimate that I am concerned that after this move by the UK government, we're effectively raiding monies that was meant to be for aid for the global south to during a global pandemic to plug the UK's wider budget deficit. I don't think we can ethically keep espousing that myth. I think it's irresponsible, it's exploitative, whether or not it comes from a benevolent place. So yes, we've corresponded as a team, and of course we're going to keep pushing and using our agency as individuals and academics against the odds, and look forward, because really we don't have another option but to do so. And looking forward is something very much that Fateh talks about. But I think it's disingenuous for those of us sitting here within UK institutions to claim that there is a systemic commitment to the common goods and the SDGs under these conditions.
Well, thank you for that update. Sorry to hear the difficulties, and let's hope that we'll be able to find another way to progress with this great project. But in the meantime, thank you very much.
Thank you, Maurice.
For more in this series, subscribe to Queen's University Belfast, the Charter podcast, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.